Welcome back, heroes, to some more scripting with Custom NPCs. I'm Zeshin of HeroesNFools, and let's get on with the next lesson. Now, first off, I want to apologize. It's been a while since I did the last video. I haven't been able to tell how I wanted to do these videos, so I've been kind of like messing around with a lot of ways and throwing away some other types of recordings. So you know what, I'm just gonna decide, I'm deciding right now, I'm just gonna jump into it. We'll just do a bunch of stuff. If anything's confusing, just let me know in the comment section below. We're just gonna go at it. So for this episode, I wanted to cover essentially executing commands with custom NPCs. More specifically, as it applies to Dragon Block C, I wanted to cover giving experience to players. Now I have XP here. This is XP's gaming skin. By the way, if you don't know what XP gaming is, check the description below. He does some amazing animations. But right now, what I have him set up as, oh geez, that is loud. What I currently have him set up as is an XP giver. So he's gonna give me experience after beating him up. I'll just kind of show you that. Jeez, you take so much damage, XP. Just die. There you go. So as you see, I destroyed him, and he told me that he gave me some experience, and I got some actual experience out of it. I have 3,000 at the moment, but you can see the command in the bottom left right there that it was successful. It did actually give me experience. So that's one of the ways that you could utilize NPCs with different mods, is by utilizing commands. Now, the thing is, in Dragon Block C, of course, you have the JRMCTP command. And so you could give somebody XP. I believe it's like 100, was it Zeshin Umi? Yeah, so you could give a targeted player some experience. So I'm gonna walk you through how to actually set that up. We're gonna go ahead and just do like a very simple one right now. We have a Taikono. Taikono, you're gonna give me some experience here. So let's go ahead and walk through how to do this. Now, first off, how to actually do a command. So he's gonna get damaged, and the way, like, here's like just a basic example for experience. So I'm gonna go over like a couple different ways you could go about it. But let's do it this initial one. So let's mimic how Dragon Block C gives experience by giving it every time he gets hit. So what you do is you do NPC, which is the, no, sorry, it's not NPC. You want to use the world object. I forgot the, no, wait. Sorry, I was correct the first time. You want to use the NPC object. And you want to use execute command. So this is the method that we're going to utilize to actually use a command. Let's go ahead and break it down. NPC is the object that you want to use, so it's going to be coming from the NPC itself. Note, this will not do things like a command block. There are some commands that will not work. For example, mocap cannot be executed from an NPC. You need to execute it from a player or a command block. However, you can utilize the set block command to kind of execute, use that NPC to kind of trigger a command block. But that's some more advanced stuff. Not gonna get into it. Just note, npc.execute command spelled exactly as you see, and then you pass it a string, which is the command. So let's go ahead and do JRMCTP 1, and then you want it to target the player. Now I'm just gonna do @p at the moment to kind of just show that how this command works. So I could go, oh wait, hang on, he's gotta be able to be damaged. I'm not sure if @p is gonna work. Oh, he died. I forgot to enable his script, and also I should probably give him some more hit points. There we go. Now, I'm not sure if @p is gonna work, but oh, there it goes. It does work. Okay, so right now, every time he gets smacked, he gives 1 experience point to the closest player, because @p targets the closest player. Now, that might be nice, except if somebody gets up behind and, you know, is standing really close, they're gonna get all the XP. So we don't want to do that. We want to target the player. Now, the thing is, within the damaged event, you could do something called, you could do something which is within the actual, like, damaged event, which I'm gonna bring up the API here. So if you look at the damaged event, there's a couple things they have access to. You have the event, the world, and NPC. And the world itself is a script event damaged. So if you looked on the left, you could see that there is script event damage, which gives you a couple of methods that you could actually access. So if you wanted to get the source of what's attacking you, which is important because what we want to get is the player that's attacking you. So let's go ahead and use the Git Source Command. So let's flip back. All right, so var source, let's just go var s for source, equals event.get source. So what this should do is the source will be tied to s. Now here's the thing. Some sources don't have any information tied to them and they actually return null. So or they actually return a type that you can't use. So what's important here is we need to filter out anything that is something that we can't use. So in order to do that, we're going to use what's called an if statement. So an if statement is structured as such. You have if, and then inside the if, you have a Boolean statement, which a Boolean is, if I could spell, a Boolean is something that will result in true or false. But the idea is if it's true, it's going to execute what is within these curly braces. I kind of structure it this way so I know what's in it. So essentially, if this is true, then this line will get executed. And you could also put a bunch of other lines in there as well. But this is the best way that you use to actually kind of control logic. So another thing you can do with an if statement is an else statement. So what will happen here is if the statement is true, this will happen. If it is false, then this will happen. So we'll just go npc.say. So anytime that he gets damaged by something that is not what we want, then what we could do is we can flip it back to here and it will say what as opposed to what it's doing normally. So that way we could tell like different types of damages and what's going on with it. We could even use this to get more information about the damage in case we want to do something with it. So in this statement, I just have true. That's not very useful. So what we're going to use is within the source, first off, we're going to check to see if it's null. Null is essentially nothing was actually assigned to the source. So what we did here is a double equal sign basically says is if s is equal to null, then this is true. If it's not, then this is false. That's pretty much all Boolean is it will be a true or a false. There is no in between. It is true or false. So if s is equal to null, then it will pass through this. However, obviously we don't want null, so we're going to do the inverse of double equals, which is exclamation equal. So exclamation point in a lot of languages is kind of a not symbol. It's essentially like if I were to equate this to redstone blocks. Okay, so if this were redstone blocks, this would be true and this would be false. So it's just two states. It's either on or off. It's pretty much what it was. It's a lot what redstone was built around. So with that in mind, we have the logic here of if it's not equal to null, then that's good. But we have another statement that we want to put in. So we're going to add an and. So with Boolean Logic, you could look this up online. There's a bunch of things that are involved with how to kind of gauge the logic. But this is for what I want here is I have two conditions that need to be true. I could utilize things like or as well, which means it's one or the other could be true. But really, in the end, what you need to do is kind of like when you're doing a Boolean logic statement, you need to just list all the conditions that need to happen and then figure out with the ands and ors how you can construct that into a single statement to figure out what needs to go through. In this case, we don't want it to be null, and we don't want it to be anything but a player. So what you can do to determine that is something called getType. Now, if we flip back to the other page, there is a thing on the left called entity type. Okay, so I was trying to be fancy and utilize the the entity type the static variables that they have for that. I found that apparently it's very complicated to actually utilize those. And also it's going through a lot of methods, and the thing I like to do is try to go for efficiency over visibility. I mean, if you wanted to, you can just display it, but here we go. Bam, it's giving the proper experience at this point. Let me just kind of show you what I did here. So when he's damaged, and you see that I said 1, the best way to figure out what is the type that you're looking for, you can just say s.getType, and you saw that he said 1 there. So what I want there is a 1. Because the thing is, if he gets damaged through another means, like say an explosion, bam! Okay. Oh, right. I was like, why did that work? I forgot. Me setting off the TNT makes me still the source of damage and the code, so that still works. You're not helping my situation here. Okay, this should work. Set him on fire. Bam. So you see nothing's going on right now. That's because getType is not working, because this is running into that issue like I mentioned before, where you need to make sure it's not null. The fire, I guess, doesn't have a source, so it doesn't really work out well. That's why you use the null check. But yeah. So let's just go ahead and get rid of that so that way it works. So as you can see, you punch him, he still gets damaged. And what you could do is, instead of doing what here, you could just do s.getSource. Well, actually, hang on. Let me add a thing. Okay, so what I did here is I actually did a wrapped if statement, which is not necessarily a great thing to do, but I think in the context of what we're doing here, it's probably a great way to kind of display what I'm talking about here. So what I have here is this if statement to make sure it's not null, and if that's true, it'll execute all of this. So that way, when we do s.getType, we don't have to worry about it being null at this point, because we know that it is not null. Then we do the first if statement. If it is equal to 1, then we do our little execution here. Otherwise, we ask what the type is. That way we have information in the future. Of course, you don't want to necessarily add this in if you're doing something like a server or whatever. You would just want to get rid of all of this, because you don't want the NPC like saying 2, 2, 2 every time he gets hurt from a weird source of damage. So there you go. We got him giving XP to specifically the player injuring him. However, this might not necessarily be a great thing, because maybe you just want to give experience when they die. So one of the things that we could also do about this is kind of combine the lessons that we had before, and we could actually just store the player that's attacking him. So first, what I always do when I plan to use a variable throughout everything, I initialize it here. So let's do npc.setTempData, and we'll call it target. So this is the target that we wanna attack. I'm gonna instantiate it as null, because what I could do is if I get target and it is null, I know that I don't have a target to execute against. And it works double, because if I'm ever using some kind of script that doesn't actually have a source, it will also be null, and I can know to ignore it. So we got the source here. We know that we got a source. So rather than actually executing the command here, what we could do is npc.setTempData target, and then we could do the source. Remember how I said you could store all sorts of things as variables? So right now I am storing the player, which is the source right now, into target. So whenever we grab target, we know that we're grabbing the source of his damage. So what we could do now is on killed, we could do npc.getTempData target, and then we could go if target is not equal to null like we used before. So now we know that when he died, somebody actually hurt him at some point in time, and then we can go ahead and award this person the XP. So execute command JRMCTP. Now we can say, okay, he gives them 100 experience, and then we could add, because we know that the target is a player, we could do get name. So, and there we go. So now what should happen is when he dies, it will pull whoever was the last person to hit him and give them experience. So let's go ahead and try this out. So, sorry buddy, but we need to set your hit points to something far less substantial because you gotta die now. All right, there we go, and goodbye. Oh, let me see what I did wrong. Oh, duh. I forgot to actually assign the value. Okay, remember, just getting get temp data does not get anything. It returns a value. You gotta assign it somewhere. I'm a dum-dum. There we go. Bam. And as you can see, he awarded me experience. I also added like him saying my name because it was just saying my name when he was actually getting hurt. So that way I knew it was getting assigned properly. So now we have an NPC that will reward whoever was the last person to hit him experience. Okay, and that's all I'm going to cover for this episode. There's more I would like to discuss on this subject, so I will continue that next time as we continue on with more scripting with NPCs. Because, like, you know, punching or getting experience just off of the last hit while it works is definitely not the best way to go about it. I have a couple of other methods that I would like to show you, but there are a lot more concepts I will need to describe that will take a lot more time. So we'll go ahead and cover it in the next episode. And as always, remember to leave in the comment section below if anything has confused you. We could discuss it there and hopefully I could clarify. Also, if you found anything cool, share it with everybody because, you know, it's always awesome to share stuff that you discovered. And also remember to suggest future subjects that we'll cover in this series. But anyways, guys, thank you all for watching. Hope you all enjoyed, and I'll see you all next time. Take care and goodbye.